Procrastination. When will it end? What is procrastination? Procrastination involves an irrational putting off of engaging in a course of action in spite of expecting to be worse off for the delay. An example of procrastination is writing and creating my PowerPoint for my CPS project overview on Sunday night at 5 p.m. when it is due by midnight. Who are we? Chronic procrastinators' prevalence rates internationally have been reported to be between 20 and 25% for both men and women, even as high as 75% in populations like college students. How does it impact me? Not submitting projects on time leads to failure. It impacts my self-esteem. It does not allow me to show my true potential. One expert stated that those who procrastinate may be protecting their self-esteem and social esteem because they are afraid of revealing possible incompetence to themselves and others. Some procrastinators self-handicap, which leads to losses in financial, health, and social domains, which further may reinforce chronic procrastinators' negative beliefs about their own abilities. How does it impact those around me? People depend on you to submit your work on time. People also depend on you to put a full effort into your work. You let them down by not fulfilling these expectations.
So in college, I had to write a lot of papers. Now, when a normal student writes a paper, they might spread the work out a little like this. And I would want to do that, but then actually the paper would come along, and then I would kind of do this. Now, I had a hypothesis that the brains of procrastinators were actually different than the brains of other people. And to test this, I found an MRI lab that actually let me scan both my brain and the brain of a proven non-procrastinator, and so I could compare them. So here's the brain of a non-procrastinator. Now, here's my brain. There is a difference. Both brains have a rational decision maker in them, but the procrastinator's brain also has an instant gratification monkey. Now, what does this mean for the procrastinator? Well, it means everything's fine until this happens. So the rational decision maker will make the rational decision to do something productive, but the monkey doesn't like that plan. So he actually takes the wheel and he says, actually, let's read the entire Wikipedia page of the Nancy Kerrigan-Tanya Harding scandal because I just remembered that happened. The instant gratification monkey does not seem like a guy you want behind the wheel. He lives entirely in the present moment. He has no memory of the past, no knowledge of the future, and he only cares about two things: easy and fun. Now, sometimes it makes sense to be doing things that are easy and fun, but other times it makes much more sense to be doing things that are harder and less pleasant for the sake of the big picture, and that's when we have a conflict. Turns out that the procrastinator has a guardian angel, someone called the panic monster. Now, the panic monster is dormant most of the time, but he suddenly wakes up anytime a deadline gets too close or there's danger of public embarrassment, a career disaster, or some other scary consequence. But there's a second kind of procrastination that happens in situations when there is no deadline. So if you want to have a career where you want to be a self-starter, something in the arts, something entrepreneurial, there's no deadlines on those things at first because nothing's happening at first, not until you've gone out and done the hard work to get some momentum, to get things going. There's also all kinds of important things outside of your career that don't involve any deadlines, like seeing your family or exercising and taking care of your health, working on your relationship or getting out of a relationship that isn't working. Now, if the procrastinator's only mechanism of doing these hard things is the panic monster, that's a problem because in all of these non-deadline situations, the panic monster doesn't show up. And it's this long-term kind of procrastination that's much less visible and much less talked about than the funnier short-term deadline-based kind. And it can be the source of a huge amount of long-term unhappiness and regrets. I had a little bit of an epiphany. I don't think non-procrastinators exist. That's right. I think all of you are procrastinators. Now, you might not all be a mess, like some of us. And some of you may have a healthy relationship with deadlines. But remember, the monkey's sneakiest trick is when the deadlines aren't there. And we need to think about what we're really procrastinating on, because everyone is procrastinating on something in life. That's a job for all of us. And it's a job that should probably start today. Well, maybe not today, but sometime soon.
So, why does it happen? Behavioral psychologists have developed many theories as to why humans procrastinate. Let's start with temporal motivation theory. One theory states that we procrastinate because small, immediate rewards are often preferred over larger, delayed rewards. This has been termed temporal motivation theory, in which we procrastinate due to on-delay discounting. Completion of the required task represents the larger delayed reward, and competing activities represent the smaller immediate rewards. So, an example of delayed discounting: using your credit card to purchase something that you don't have the money for. Another is free operant temporal avoidance theory. Under the free operant temporal avoidance theory, theorists propose that humans relate an aversive event by the passage of time. It is a procedure similar to the Pavlovian response, in which an animal will receive a shock if it does not make a required response within a defined interval of time. An example of free operant temporal avoidance theory: rats given shock and learn to jump over a barrier to avoid the shock. The fear of a shock in the free operant temporal avoidance procedure is analogous to fear or anxiety associated with missing the deadline for humans. Under this experiment, researchers realized that rats delayed jumping over the barrier until the last minute to avoid getting shocked. Another theory is negative reinforcement. Under the negative reinforcement theory, theorists state that the idea of the removal of an aversive event can be reinforcing. If completion of the required task relieves anxiety, it can provide an additional incentive for repeated procrastination. And an example of negative reinforcement: you decide to clean up your mess in the kitchen, the behavioral, to avoid drafting your PowerPoint presentation, removal of the aversive stimulus. What does this mean to me? While these theories of procrastination are educational and thought-provoking, to me, they do not explain why I procrastinate. Why do I think I procrastinate? For me, procrastination happens because I don't know where to start, I have limited direction, lack of tools, knowledge, and skills, and I feel overwhelmed. How can I prevent procrastination? Well, if I don't know where to start, I need to ask my teacher, review my materials, Google it, or seek tutoring with my ASU academic support site. If I have limited direction, I can ask my teacher, review materials, Google it, or seek tutoring at my ASU academic support site. Again, if I have lack of tools, knowledge, skills, I can take a class, go to the ASU library, Google it, or YouTube. When I feel overwhelmed, I can practice deep breathing, ask for help from my ASU support team, put on some soothing music, or say that the same mantra that it doesn't need to be perfect just today, just start it. Just start. Okay, ready. Will this always work? Probably not. Everything requires practice. But I will start today and not tomorrow.